So just do that catchphrase again. We'll
from the top.
Good evening, valued viewers. This episode of SubPar Automotive, Kit, Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards get up to some new engine stuff. We get up to some Gavin doing all the work stuff. We get up to some printing and some tidying of our interior and helping us understand what's going on with our race car stuff, which is always handy.
And Nick's there.
Nick gets interrupted by... This is our first episode of prep for Winton 2025.
Yeah. We've moved on from intro, haven't we? What are we doing now?
Just to keep y'all in the loop timeline-wise.
Yeah, first episode back from the bend.
So we're all feeling pretty good.
We're feeling awful. We get to see some more of the damage we did. Kit did. The first time round.
It mustn't have.
But I think it was here when we got stuff like this.
Would anyone like to explain what we're doing?
Kit doors. As you would have seen, we had some troubles with the connection between our head and block, and whilst we probably could deck it an inch and get heaps of compression, we thought what we'll do is we'll get a whole other engine to add to our three others, and we'll basically just mix all the best bits. And so we need a 6-bolt crank again. Even though our one might be fine, we figured we'll just grab a whole spare 388 6-bolt engine just so we can use the block, we can use the crank if we need to, whatever. And we're going to Frankenstein an engine back together. We'll get the head decked, we'll like all new seals, all that sort of
Frankenstein, we're probably just going to use this one, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, because like...
We're going to rebuild it.
No, but like the covers, you know.
Well, okay, I don't know if it's a Frankenstein motor if you just swap the valve cover.
Do you know what I mean? Like we'll probably use...
Well, that's why we're correcting you on it.
Well, we need to use the 2S sump and pick up. It is a bit of a Frankenstein, you heads.
Not any more than the motor already is.
Anyway, that's what we're doing. That's why we're here. The donkey's not making any noise. Our new crate engine just arrived in the truck, the engine shipping truck. So it's looking pretty good. Now, like with all crate engines, we have to clean it up heaps. We'll take the head off, redo a bunch of stuff, take some bits off our other engine, because you know these crate engines, they just don't come ready to go. So yeah. I don't think our one is blocked off there.
All right, we're here in our good clothes, taking an engine out of a ute that we took out of a car the other day, and now to check that it's a 6-bolt crank and not an 8-bolt crank.
We're pretty sure it is because it has the threaded holes for the engine mounts, which is handy, but...
And because it's out of an 88.
Yeah, but who knows? We've been pretty certain about a lot of things on this channel.
Yeah. Our level of certainty has little to no correlation with the truth.
Yeah, we didn't do enough Googling, probably. Can I have a screwdriver?
Yeah. Let me bring this down a bit.
No.
Just a sec.
Oh, you're going to crush my hands.
And dent your tailgate.
But yeah, it's really on there.
Oh.
Yay!
Yeah. Those are the prettiest 6-looking bolts I've ever seen.
Because these are all the delights are all the things that make you happy.
Is there no like, what's the word for what I'm feeling now? Like
relief.
Relief? Oh, that's a good clutch.
Alright, let's go do a second video. It's time for me to go to bed. Right, so I'm here at the car. The time we agreed to meet and start working on the car. You know, I'm the only one here, which is weird, but that's all right. Looks like I'm gonna have to build the car myself again. Gonna pull the engine today. Well, I'm gonna pull the engine today. I don't know what the other guys are doing. And then once the engine's out, we'll probably start stripping this one and start to rebuild that. Hopefully the other guys arrive to do that because, yeah, I don't know. I want them to feel part of it, but at this rate, I just got to do everything myself. So I'm going to set this camera up somewhere and we'll get to work. All right, sit rep. I'm sweating like Nick Cummins trying to come up with a one-liner in a rugby union post-game interview. We have radiator out, rad support out. We've drained the coolant. That was fairly muddy. Just noticed a crack in here. This is going to have to be replaced, I'd say. We'll just use some RHS and put it across there. But yeah, this is what we've removed. This is the coolant overflow bottle. I don't know if you can see in the bottom of there, but this was brand new before the race, and that's quite a bit of mud in the bottom of that, or rust, so that's probably not good.
Okay, so we're in the hot ass shed and engine is ready to come out, basically. The bad engine.
Just so I can
Just go all the way low and then go up.
Well, they've changed slack now.
Oh, okay, we'll start going up.
Actually, not the only thing around here that's been slack.
No, it needs to go up a little bit more, I think.
I think it needs to come forward a little bit more, actually.
Right, that's
One very close now. Oh, we've come away from the... No, we haven't.
it was moving on the gearbox.
We've come a long way from the bell housing. Our W58 is leaving our free SFE.
Yoinking. I think.
No, you have to go up first, you
Oh, wait,
no,
yeah,
all the way
yeah,
up, you heads.
I didn't want to, because we haven't undone the transmission mounts or anything. I didn't want to. Do you want to yoink on it and I'll shake it?
20...
Go up. Oh. Jesus Christ.
What? That's a motor coming out of a car, kid.
Why can't you do it like nicely, you know?
What would you?
All right, I'll start yoinking the crane.
Yeah, I'll wiggle this.
That sounded like that's out. That needs to go up though, because we're caught on the sway bar. If that comes out and pulls a header, that's a win.
Howdy. So this is our new engine, which you would have seen us taking out of poor trying to die Camry at the wreckers. Notable things that are slightly different with this engine to our old one is this is a pre-88, which means that it already has the hole drilled for the engine mount, so we don't have to do with that. It already has a 6-bolt crank, so we can forget that whole charade. We are going to do a basic full rebuild on it. Hopefully it's not too bad, but we'll get the head decked, we'll get cylinders honed, we'll do new rings, new bearings. We've got basically every new seal for it, so full seal up, timing, belt, water pump, all that stuff. Then the only other thing we have to do is chuck on the 2S sump again. We're going to use a different one because our old one was leaking, but that's the plan for this engine. So to start off with, I'm just going to get everything stripped off it that we're not going to use, like intake, front wheel drive, mount, all that sort of stuff, and then we'll probably take it out and give it a good clean up before I properly disassemble it, measure everything up, then figure out what parts we want to use off the old engine, like the valve cover, stuff like that's a bit nicer. And then figure out if we need to go oversized bearings and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll get started on it then. So basically, this is our new crate engine. You know, sometimes when you get them from the factory, you want to take them apart to check them. This is our new block. This is our new crank, which you won't be able to see on camera, but some of the main journals have some slight wear in them, and we were hoping to not have to machine it at all. But all the cams look fine still, the walls look good, everything looks all right. So we thought we'd pull the crank out of the engine we cooked at the bend to see if it was in slightly better shape, which in hindsight now is probably stupid because we were filling up a catch can every 2 minutes, that sort of stuff. And I've literally just taken off one rod cap. And keep in mind, these have done not even a full race event, these bearings. And I'm sure the camera will pick up that. It's not even just smooth lines. You can actually see there's little divots of stuff, like something's been snuck around in there. So I don't have high hopes for this crank, but I guess still interesting to see how badly we cooked it. But yeah, I think we'll probably be linishing that one instead of using this one. All right, it's Fun Nice Parts Wednesday. So we got all the machining done by DLR Engines in Bitton. If you have any engine stuff in Victoria, he's the man to go to, I reckon. So here's what we've got. So what we had done on the crank was it just had some light marring from being a 400,000k camera engine that's had no oil change in its life. So that got a light linish. However, we still are running standard size bearings because that actually just gives you a little bit more clearance, oil clearance, which is good for like high revving stuff. Just get a little bit more oil in there for cooling and lubrication, obviously. All right, this is our head. So obviously been decked because alloy, old, whatever, was a bit, how you going? He's also changed the valve seals and given everything a good clean. Didn't grind the valves because it was sealing pretty well and we're trying to keep the cost down a little bit, but that's all vacuum tested and all good. Decked, gonna be sweet. And then, not gonna lift it out because it's heavy, but the block, which obviously got a good old chemical bath, which we're then going to paint it. It had heaps of rust in the coolant channels and everything, so that needed a good acid bath. We're going to paint it to keep it from rusting more. It also got a hone, no boring, it wasn't out of taper or marred that bad, so just a hone and some new standard rings again because it's not oversized, and some beveled edges and everything just to make it a bit nicer. So this should be a very bulletproof package now. It's basically a brand new Camry engine that's not pushing any more power and we're adding way more cooling to it. So I'm hoping it's going to run sweet, be a bit more powerful than the previous engine that was running awfully. And yeah, with the better cooling system, we're hoping this should be bulletproof for as long as we want to run this engine. Basically something that we can just forget about until we want to go up to more power. So yeah, it'd be time to put it all together now this weekend.
As you may recall, in our race car, we've had several gauge-related issues. At every single race we've been to, we've had something wrong or weird with our gauges. At our first race at the bend, the car didn't have a tacho, so we had this awkwardly placed tacho. And if memory serves, the temperature gauge never really worked correctly then either. At our race at Calder, we had the gauge cluster from the Camry that donated the motor in our car. Our temperature sensor never really worked. The lead was stretched too thin and it pulled off and we just couldn't trust it. At our race at the bend, both our temperature sensor and our aftermarket fuel sensor had issues. We would like to know what's going on with the motor in our car. To that end, we have bought a suite of SAS Speed Series gauges. We've got a tacho, we've got oil pressure, we've got water temperature, and we've got fuel level. They don't sell a speedo in this series, but speed's the least important one for us anyway. These are all pretty affordable, and I think they look fairly tidy, but they also have pretty good features. They're basically all adjustable, so they can be used with whichever sort of sender that you have. And the tacho is adjustable for different engine configurations and things like that. So the plan with these is I have the gauge cluster surround out of the Corona. I'm planning on 3D scanning this and making a panel that fits in here to hold all our gauges. If you're wondering why it's got scribbles all over it, that is because on a big flat surface like this, the scanner would not really know where it is, but if I put it on texture tracking mode, it can track what I've written on, and instead of scribbling, I wrote SubPar Endurance Racing. You could use the geometry tracking on this, but there's also some repeated geometry and big flat surfaces, and it would likely lose its place. So I'm gonna scan this, CAD up a panel to go in there and hold all the gauges, and hopefully it'll be a much tidier solution, because while we did at the bend kind of wind up with a solution that worked, it was pretty hideous. We've got a Creality or however you say it, Otter. I played around with this a bit, but I'm yet to design anything based off those scans. So it's still a bit of a learning process for me, but this is a pretty simple part. There's no sort of moving geometry, nothing particularly complex. So I think it shouldn't be too bad, but I'll let you guys know, I guess, what I think of it. So far it seems to do a really good job. So from that we have 3 scans. From different sides of the cluster housing, and then in the Creality system, join them together. So from the scan data, join that all together, and this is what the raw scan came out as. Based on this, I made a representation of the housing, which I then used to design the actual cluster panel, and I then mirrored that to the other side, although with one less hole in it because we've only got 4 gauges and I wanted one in the center, and we end up with a 2-piece cluster panel that bolts together in the middle, and then we'll have to drill some holes in the cluster housing to mount it all up, but should look pretty tidy. Gavin very kindly has printed out my gauge cluster that I've designed, and it now holds our gauges in a sort of cluster, and it is slightly too small for where it sits in the housing, but not to the point where it's a problem, and I reckon that looks pretty schmick. The 3D printer has actually created somewhat of an approximation of the finish on it that I would like, which is cool. So pretty happy with that.
That was a bit exciting, wasn't it, eh? We got some engine stuff done. Cam finally did some work on the car.
What do you think of that? I found it quite unsettling, the view, like the super steady camera, and you standing up, like vlogging to it. It was.
Well, I think it was just a very similar situation to when you were here by yourself, except I wanted it to be watchable.
Anyway, so next episode we'll be hitting right off where we started.
No.
Anyway, so next episode we'll just be carrying off where we left. So
Carrying off where we left off.
Anyway, so next episode we'll be continuing our progress on the engine build, getting all that back together with all our nice new parts, making sure it's all in spec, all that fun, tedious engine stuff.
You love it.
Gavin will be doing some fuel stuff, I believe. Nick's going to start working on the wiring side of our gauges and other paraphernalia. And Cam's finished his work, so he's just sitting it out, waiting for us all else to finish our work.
He's hot, right? Mine's making a lot of promises your editor can't keep right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in the next episode.
Anyway, the donations.
There's going to be so much squeaky fast forwarding in this one.
Can I have both parts finished?
You've got.
Put us in order 1 through 4, but just don't tell us what the category is. Oh, in the comments for engagement, please.
Yeah, rank us all in the comments, but don't tell us what metric.
So as you know, we do motor events racing, and the real winner in a motor events racing event is who can raise the most money for Rare Cancers Australia. So our next event is the Mallala 24 hours, the M24, which we would like donations for. There'll be a link down in the description below. All money goes to a good cause. Any donation above $2 is tax deductible.
As per Australian tax law.
Yep, I'm an expert.
So as you know, the real winner on YouTube is the people that get the most likes and subscribes.
And we're pretty competitive.
Yeah, so to that point, please like and subscribe so we can win YouTube, please.
#1 YouTube. Here we come.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, please keep watching. We desperately need it.